Hello and welcome to GCS Today here on Channel 21, the program that brings you news and information about Gaston County Schools. I'm Todd Hagans. On today's edition, we welcome our Superintendent of Schools, W. Jeffrey Booker. We learn about the Gaston County Schools mentoring program, and we hear from a teacher who spent the summer in Panama. All of this on GCS Today. Joining me on GCS Today is our Superintendent of Schools, W. Jeffrey Booker. Mr. Booker, welcome. Thank you for being with us. And before we begin, I want to congratulate you on being named the Regional Superintendent of the Year for 2016-2017. Congratulations.
Thank you, Todd. It's a great reflection on what's going on in our district.
Now, Mr. Booker, our theme this year for Gaston County Schools is Celebrate Gaston County Schools, and we have a lot to celebrate.
We have a rich history in our school system of success and watching our students go on to do great things and now come back and be leaders in our classroom, leaders in our community. And so we just need to celebrate and remind folks about all the great things that are going on.
And that's what we're doing this year. Let's talk a little bit about academic achievement. It's always a very important topic for our schools, and we've got some good news in this area. On the state accountability program and testing program, we had an increase in student proficiency and we had an increase in academic growth, a 2.5 points increase in the proficiency, and 84% of our schools were meeting or exceeding academic growth. That's good news for the district.
That second number is the one that's the really most important one, Todd. When we talk about growth, we talk about taking children where they are and investing in them and seeing them grow to a new level and reaching their potential. And to have 84% of our children all growing is a really exciting thing.
And people watching may say, what does it mean of academic growth? Tell us what that term actually means.
Well, a child has a level that they come and they measure. And your level and my level may be different, even though we're both in the third grade. And so through the year, you're growing and I'm growing. And so that measure just says, how much did Todd grow in his knowledge and his ability to show academic achievement? And how much did Jeff grow in his? And what we're saying is that over 80% of our kids grew the anticipated amount of growth or more, which, anticipated amount of growth is that you would grow the equivalent of one grade level, or you would exceed that and grow more.
Yeah, the growth is very important because when you look at proficiency, that's based on a test score.
It's a one-day shot and says, okay, Todd could get a 3, 4, or 5, and Jeff got a 2, so he's not proficient. Having half of our children proficient is not where we want to stop. We're going to continue to strive to raise proficiency. But growth is acknowledging, well, I came in at a 1 and I went to a 2. That's growth. I'm still not proficient, but I'm growing.
We focus a lot on academic achievement, and we have some exciting things going on this year.
Yes, always academic achievement is important. It's what we're about. But this year, we focused on some particular areas. In our middle schools, we have a new math curriculum, and that's allowing our teachers a new tool, and it's a tool that goes home with the child, and so they can sign on and work. And we saw a gap in our academic achievement in math, which directly impacts how a child performs in high school, and so we felt that was an address. That's one. In our high schools, we've brought in teachers and are using teacher leaders to spread how we want to go about introducing the curriculum in our high schools.
Now, another thing that is good news for us is our graduation rate. It's at 88%, which is the highest ever for the school district. And when you look at graduation, when the first rate was determined in 2006, we were at 68.1, I believe. We've increased 19.9 points in 10 years. That's fantastic news for us.
It is great news, and we should celebrate that because that's a community accomplishment. That's our parents recognizing that a high school education has a value to it, and that getting that degree is the first step, whether you want to go into the workforce or go on to a higher education. You need to have your high school diploma, and to be able to accomplish that and see that growth. I've said this many times about our teachers and our administrators. If you'll tell us what the goals are, you tell us the rules of the game, we will win. And this is just a great example of how over the last 10 years we've continued to grow, and I believe that number will continue to improve.
And another number that has improved for us is SAT scores for Gaston County. We are up 15 points this year, so that's a great increase for us.
Todd, we have great kids doing great things, and that's just one assessment. We could go into what we're doing in our career and technical education courses and all the certifications that children are getting and look at great accomplishments there. While we're the 9th largest district, we have the 5th most children getting certifications. And so it's an across-the-board growth in our academic achievement.
We're also celebrating this year that we have the North Carolina Teacher of the Year, Bobby Kavnar, here in Gaston County. I know you've had a chance to catch up with Bobby to see what he's doing this year. What's going on in his life?
One thing you said is a little bit tough. Bobby is from Gaston County, but he is all over the state. And this week he's been at the State Board of Education's fall retreat, and he's visiting other districts and just sharing the good news about what it is to be a teacher and to be a great teacher. And he is such an ambassador for public education and what it means to our community and the state.
And also this year, we are celebrating new school construction. It's really unprecedented in Gaston County to have 2 new school construction projects going on at the same time. Let's talk a little bit about those.
Well, it's a great time for us in that we are seeing investment in our community, and we have identified a number of projects that we would like to accomplish, and 2 of which were replacement of Pleasant Ridge Elementary and replacement of Stanley Middle School. And with Pleasant Ridge, we're combining 3 elementary schools and providing a state-of-the-art 800-student elementary school. And it's in a part of our community that a lot of folks say, well, there's no growth, No, there is growth, and it's valuable children there that need their growth in academic achievement. So we look so forward to presenting that new facility and having it operational next year. At the same time, Stanley Middle School was the old Stanley High School, and it has served this community well, but it's time to have a new facility. And when you go out there and see all the groundbreaking that has happened, and it's a battle of red mud today, but over the next coming weeks, you'll start to see walls rise up from that site.
And there's already some great progress being made at the elementary site adjacent to the Pleasant Ridge campus. We see walls taking shape over there.
Yes.
And at Stanley, we are seeing the foundations being put in place, the grading of the area. It's really an exciting time, not just for the Pleasant Ridge community and the Stanley community, but also a very exciting time for Gaston County schools.
It's a great commitment. It shows that people believe in our school system and that they want to invest in our school system. And I believe you'll see more investment in the coming days.
Superintendent of Schools, W. Jeffrey Booker, thanks so much for being with us on GCS Today.
Thank you, Todd.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
And then from this angle, it all makes a star.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore.
Show up
And frustration, a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible.
And then we're going to turn the lights and everybody look up.
I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought.
Finally won.
What's your reaction gonna be? Yeah, exactly.
And unconventional methods
Okay, what else?
common.
Little tadpoles, the frogs. Everybody say, this is their world.
There's nothing.
And then they die. Go ahead, go, go, go.
I'm a teacher. I make more.
Joining me on GCS Today is Valerie Yatko. Valerie is the Director of Business and Community Partnerships for Gaston County Schools, and she also coordinates the mentoring program, and that's what we're talking about, the Gaston County Schools mentoring program. So, Valerie, what is mentoring?
Mentoring, simply put, Todd, is a caring adult willing to spare some time to devote to a deserving child. Our mentors, we like to refer to them as friends with experience. They just give their time and offer some valuable life skills and some insight to help build a child as they're progressing through their school years.
So what does a mentor do in the schools? What does that involve, that process involve?
Our Gaston County School mentors meet weekly with our students for up to an hour. Sometimes it's about 40 minutes to an hour. They meet weekly, and it is not necessarily meant to be like a classroom situation. The child usually comes from class, and they can do fun activities together. Obviously, doing some of those things that the child finds fun will create a relaxed setting. And then opportunities for discussions and sharing other knowledge with the child will come up and usually benefit not only the child but the mentor as well.
And it's really about providing encouragement and providing support and being a role model as opposed to being a tutor. It's not necessarily just about academics. It really is more about that encouragement and providing that positive support for students.
Absolutely, Todd. Our goal with the mentoring program, of course, is to help ensure that every child graduates. But during that time, as the mentor comes regularly and makes that commitment to build a relationship with the child can benefit academically from that presence. But again, a strong role model, someone with good listening skills that is just willing to share their time and their talents with a child. Time and again, we've seen differences in our schools that mentoring, how it impacts young people.
And we have seen a lot of success from our mentoring program. The mentoring program dates back
24 years.
24 years.
Yes.
So, and over those years, we've had a lot of success stories, right?
We have. Over those 24 years, thousands of lives have been touched by mentoring, through mentoring. We have had students who have successfully graduated and gone on and gotten four-year degrees, gotten associate degrees, have had some accomplishments, beyond their school years, and still stay in touch with us as well. So we love to hear those stories. But again, we have had opportunities to hear back from both the mentors and the children as to how mentoring has impacted their lives.
And one example, Valerie, that you've shared with me before is we had a high school student who thought about dropping out of school, but it was because of that influence of that mentor that student stayed in school and graduated.
It was. It was the right voice at the right time that student responded to, and it was the mentor who was able to help that student navigate some tough times. But the student remained in school, the student graduated, and the student went on to post-secondary education.
It's great. It's great. That's what it's all about.
That is what it's all about.
Okay, the mentoring program, what does a person have to do to become a mentor?
Well, there's a two-step process. We do require a volunteer application of all our volunteers in Gaston County Schools. That is available online through our Gaston County School website on the mentor page. And then there is a training session. It lasts about an hour and a half. And at that session, we put materials into the mentor's hands, especially if you are a new volunteer, to just make you comfortable as you begin to work with your student. It does require a commitment. We just ask for a one-year commitment. As folks enter our mentoring program, we just ask them to stay with that student for 1 year. The wonderful thing about this program is that as those relationships build, many of our mentors follow their students, as you mentioned, and continue for several years. And we've had many that have actually had the satisfaction of watching their mentee graduate.
So to be a mentor, you have to be a caring adult.
Correct.
Who wants to spend some time and have an influence on a child.
That's correct.
You have to attend a training session. You have to pass the background check.
Yes, there is a background check required.
And the fourth thing, you have to be willing to make a commitment.
Make a commitment, and the best skill a mentor can possess is the ability to listen.
Okay, you have told us everything we needed to know to become a mentor. How does someone get more information? I know you can go to the website, and they also can give you a call.
That's right. Contact the Business and Community Partnerships Office. That number is 704-866-6329. We'll be glad to talk to them. And you can also come to that training session and just hear about the mentoring program and get more information before actually making a commitment.
And it's important to note, we have mentoring training sessions here in the district office, but we also, if you've got a community group or a church group or some organization that wants to have a training, you're willing to go to them, right?
I am willing to travel, and we can do this at company site locations. Within the faith community, we've often been asked to come and speak about mentoring and conduct those sessions. So yes, we are available to streamline the process and make it easy for folks that feel called to join us.
And more information is available on the Gaston County Schools website. Valerie Yatko, thanks so much for being with us on GCS Today.
Thank you for having me, Todd.
Coming up, we meet a Gaston County teacher who spent time this summer in Panama. You are watching GCS Today on Channel 21.
When I lost my sight, I kind of just gravitated towards the piano. The first time I met CT was when I was studying at William Patterson University. Clark was losing his sight, and I think he was having a pretty tough time adjusting to it.
I believe in your talent, and I believe in you.
And that's what it takes. It takes mentors. Got people that have done it before. Apprenticeship and mentoring is the most powerful thing there is.
Joining me on GCS Today is Jill Hendrix. She is the Spanish teacher at Stanley Middle School. We appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you.
Now, Jill, you had an interesting experience this summer. You spent 6 weeks in Panama teaching English.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Okay. I was placed in an elementary school with a teacher to work one-on-one with her and help her increase her language abilities in English and learn things as well myself about teaching another language and work with the children there.
So this is part of the Panama Teach program, is that correct?
Panama Teacher Match.
Teacher Match
Yes,
program.
yes. It was, the program was developed in response to an initiative by the president of Panama called Panama Bilingue, where he wants his teachers and his students to become bilingual.
Okay.
His goal
All
is
right.
5 years, and so it's to increase the language abilities of the teachers and the students. And so the Teacher Match program was created, where they send teachers down there every summer for the next 5 years and match them one-on-one with the Panamanian teachers.
Okay, so there were 160 applicants nationwide.
True.
And 20 were selected, and you were one of them.
I couldn't believe it.
How did you feel knowing that so many teachers wanted this opportunity, and you were one of only 20 selected?
I felt very underqualified.
Well, certainly you weren't.
Well, when we first, found out that we were going to be doing this, and they sent out kind of like a little blurb about everybody and what their qualifications were, I was like, oh my goodness. But I was just honored. I was honored, and when I went down there and met all the teachers that were chosen from across the nation, from Texas and Oregon and Washington, D.C., and you go into a room with 20 people, 19 people that you don't know, and then 6 weeks later, you are so close with them and you've had so many wonderful experiences, and I've learned so much from them. Then I thought, yes, I added something to this program as well as I took something from it, yeah.
You said something interesting a moment ago. We place an emphasis in the United States on students learning another language. It's interesting that you see that same emphasis in other countries,
Right.
and they're wanting to learn English.
Absolutely. They see the value in it, I think. When you learn a language, you learn about people and cultures and places, and you learn it differently if you know their language than if you speak your language in that country. So once you learn another language, it just opens doors and windows.
What was a day like in Panama? What did you actually do?
Started very early in the morning. The school I taught at, the youngest children, 4-year-olds, came in early in the morning and left around lunchtime. So I would work with the younger children in the morning and then the older children in the afternoon. And it was like team teaching. So I had a teacher that I worked one-on-one with, and she and I would plan together and execute our lessons together. We would sit down after a lesson and talk about what went well and what didn't work and what we needed to change and challenges like that. It was very hot. You got very, very tired because of the heat. We take that for granted here. We have air conditioning and we're comfortable in our classrooms, and it's exhausting to teach in a country where it's so very hot like that, So yeah, that was exciting. That was interesting. It was challenging.
We expect air conditioning here. It really is a luxury, though, isn't it?
There's a lot of things we expect. I came back and I thought, I won't complain when the copier's down, because we didn't have copies. I was in a rural area. Not every teacher had that same situation. When they interviewed us, they asked us, did we prefer rural, urban, suburban? Do we prefer elementary, middle, or high school? And they tried to honor what we felt most comfortable with. I wanted a rural setting. I wanted to, personally, I wanted to improve my Spanish. And so I wanted to be surrounded by people that didn't speak a lot of English so that I would be forced to speak Spanish. That's what I got.
Now, you were in the position of being the teacher, so you were teaching.
Correct.
But it also was a learning experience
Absolutely.
for you.
I learned a lot from the teacher that I worked with. I learned a lot watching the other teachers teach their lessons in Spanish, teaching, you know, math and geography and social science and things that they did. On my planning times, I would, you know, roam around the classrooms and see things that were being done. I learned a lot from the other teachers that I met from across the country. When we had a WhatsApp, you know, the social media WhatsApp, we had a group message there, and we would, you know, talk with each other about what was working and what wasn't, and what was our challenges. And when we came back together, sometimes on the weekends and at the end in our debriefing, just the information and things that I learned from my other colleagues was invaluable.
Now, after that 6 weeks, you stopped and asked yourself, was this really worth it? And you had an experience involving one of the students that told you, yes, it was worth it. Tell us about that.
He was in a third grade class, and he looked to be at least a fifth or sixth grade. He was really a much older boy. And I asked the teacher about him, you know, and she said, yeah, you know, he missed a lot of school and he wasn't there very often. And he'd sit in the back of the classroom and kind of, with his body language, you know, I don't care. You know, and just in my heart, those children always speak to me. And so I, you know, would call on him in class, and I knew he was listening to me. And next thing I know, he's moving closer, you know, and he has an interest. And there towards the end, when I was getting ready to leave, he said to me that he was going to go to high school. And not all the children in the area that I taught in will go to high school because they can't afford to, it's too far away. And he's going to go to high school. He wanted to study and he wanted to learn English. And I just thought, you know, if I made the difference for one child out of the whole 6 weeks, it has to be worth it. Because it was a difficult 6 weeks. I was in a rural setting. You know, I was living with a family that wasn't my own, and they did things differently. And, you know, and I missed my family. But I would do it again. I would do it again in another country, and I would encourage anyone that had the opportunity to do it, because you learn a lot about yourself and you learn a lot about other people and other places.
It's very obvious that you made a difference in Panama this summer.
Thank you.
And I know that you're making a difference every day in your classroom at Stanley Middle School, and we appreciate everything that you do for us. And we appreciate you being with us today here on GCS Today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And that does it for this edition of GCS Today. Stay tuned to Channel 21 for the latest news and information from Gaston County Schools. We hope to see you next time.